Hello and welcome back. Welcome back to me, actually. I've returned from vacation. Hello, I'm Mark. Welcome. Hey, we got Gerald and Brody.
Howdy, howdy.
Hola.
Yeah, welcome back. Us three boys here to talk about some 40k lore. Today's episode, we're doing some Tzeentch. We're doing the cult of change. So, we've talked about the god and his realms. We've talked about demons. And now we're going to do a little series about the mortal followers. And are there Xenos that align with Tzeentch? All these kind of fun little things. But before we get into it, let's just do some housekeeping. Yeah, I was away last week. It was pretty cool having the show go without me, and Fuzz stepped in for a couple episodes and some of the other boys stepped in. So really appreciate that. And it was a lot of fun just being in the chat room like one of you guys, participating and watching, listening to the funny jokes. We were just saying some funny ones before this show. I don't know if I want to repeat them. I do know I will forever remember Jordan's impersonation of Layman Russ. That will make me laugh to the end of time, I think.
Glorious.
Yeah, all Space Wolves are like that now.
Yeah, his little, oh, hello.
Organ, organ.
Beautiful.
Oh man. But yeah, it was cool. But we're back now, back to business as usual. Hey, if you guys ever want to join on the show, like I like having random people, so shoot me a message, join the call-ins, all that kind of stuff. We'll talk about that in a second. Before we do, we'll talk about Discord. I looked the other day, we had over 3K members on there. I thought that was pretty fucking cool. It's more than one, less than 1 million, but hey, I think it's a pretty neat number nonetheless.
At that point, it's just a statistic.
Get to that over 1 million mark.
Yeah. Even if half of them are just servitorized versions of me talking to myself about 40k. We'll get there, damn it.
But that's the best part. But if you like to actually join in on all our shenanigans and chicanery and changery and everything Tzeentch related, come join the Patreon for $2.50. I'm sorry, if you're court 2.5 teeth. You can just join. You can get the ad-free versions on Spotify, wherever you're streaming it, and then for $5 or teeth of your court, you get access to the live stream. So, pardon my raspy voice today. Tzeentch saw fit to change and asked Nurgle to give me some more allergies, so I'm not having a good time right now.
I know Fuzz is lurking in the chat just begging to be on again, so if you have to drop out, people are just clawing at our spots now. No host is safe, apparently. Not me or you.
Don't worry. The blue horrors persist, but so do I.
Good.
There you go. And if you do want to be one of those call-in guests at the end of the episodes, join the Patreon to access that. There's a live chat room during the show. We always highlight some of the comments that we see in the chat because they can just get either A, great points, or B, hilarious. So it's always a good time over here in the live stream. So
yeah, I love when I highlight something, I haven't read the whole thing, and you get to the end and you're like, uh-oh, it went south quick there, but we're in it.
There's been a couple where I'm like, oh, good point. Oh, no, bad
point.
Mama always said Tzeentch is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Mom always said I was special. Mom also used to beat me with a rubber hose, call me a retard.
Oh, God. No, not that kind of special.
That's from the Shenanigans movie with Ryan Reynolds says that.
Yeah, and if you're going to shenan once, you're going to shenan again. I do know that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, this episode, we're doing Tzeentch and the cult of change. So we're going to be covering Tzeentch just real quick, do a little recap thing. Then we're going to dive into the cult of change itself, talk about sorcerers and psychers, his primary followers. We'll talk about the different gifts of Tzeentch and demonhood being the greatest one of those. Then we'll talk about Tzeentchian corruption and perhaps the fall to spawndom. Then we'll dive into what I was kind of most interested in that kind of spawned this series of episodes, what the actual cults, from Chaos Space Marines to renegades and cultists to night houses and Titan legions. There's a very fucking cool Titan legion that we're going to be talking about in this episode. And then some Xenos followers too. Humans aren't the only ones who worship the dark gods. The dark gods is for everyone, really. Khorne doesn't care where the blood flows, just as long as you give him some skulls. So, and then if we have some time, we'll talk about the notable servants of Tzeentch that are non-demon related and, not Magnus the Red and not some of these more prominent ones we've probably mentioned before. But yeah, it's going to be a full episode of change and twists and turns and see where it takes us.
Tzeentch's cult of change. Tzeentch, the changer of ways, is the chaos god of fate, sorcery, and ambition. He is the grand manipulator, weaving plots within plots, forever shifting the course of history through deception and knowledge. Worshipped by sorcerers, schemers, and revolutionaries alike, Tzeentch thrives on change, feeding on the dreams of those who seek power and the despair of those crushed by destiny's twists. His domain is an ever shifting nightmare of arcane energy and impossible architecture, reflecting his mercurial nature. Unlike the other Chaos gods who rule through brute force or base desires, Tzeentch's power lies in uncertainty. Those who bargain with him rarely understand the full extent of the price they will pay.
I am Tzeentch, and you are the puppet that dances to my tune.
Excerpt from the Book of Tzeentch.
Oh, yikes. I was not expecting that, and I liked it. You know, we know him, we love him, the god of change for all the plotters and schemers out there. Every time you come up with a dastardly one of those like Rube Goldberg's machines, that's Tzeentch's alley for sure. Just anything plotty and scheming, the more steps the better, and you're gonna be serving Tzeentch.
Exactly. And with following Cheech, you gotta, oh sorry, not Cheech, Cheech.
I got a YouTube comment saying that we were saying it wrong. Just wait till he listens to
I
some of
say,
the other things we say.
mm-hmm.
All right, question.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say question for the chat then. Is it Tzeentch or Tzeentch?
You decide.
I always say Tzeentch. I tried Cheech. It didn't feel right. It's not my thing.
Tzeentch.
Fuzz is Cheech and Chong.
Cheech and
Oh.
Chong. And Spaghetti says, oh, not that one. Spaghetti says, all words are made up.
But we got to talk about the cult of change if we want to talk about Tzeentch. You guys have converted me to this freaking way of saying it now, and it's going to bother me. Tzeentch, the changer of ways, is a god of infinite faces and shifting truths, a whisper in the dark corners of fate. He is sorcery unbound, the writhing pulse of ambition, the architect of all schemes, the ever turning wheel of change. He is known by names beyond counting, each a mask, each a deception, master of fortune, great conspirator, father of lies, great mutator, the shifting breeze, the architect of to name him is to misunderstand him. For the moment one dares to divine Tzeentch, he has already become something else. No mortal mind can grasp the depths of his weaving. He is the embodiment of paradox, a god whose nature is to have no fixed nature at all. To seek to understand him is to chase an illusion through the shifting dunes of time. He is not a thing, not a being, not but a concept without boundary, a force that moves and changes even itself. He cannot be trapped in a single truth, for he is the death of truth itself. The foolish and the desperate are drawn to his labyrinthine grasp. Those who crave power, those who seek knowledge, those who weave plots within plots. They believe they walk their own path, carving their own destiny, but their strings have long been in his talons. Politicians, psychers, scholars, and cultists all dance to a song whose composer they do not know. Even the most brilliant schemers are but motes caught in the great storm of his design.
Fucking sleazy politicians, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I can see all politicians being just a weird cult disease.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I love the evangelical Tzeentch cultist persona you got going there, bro Diddley.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, when it was like all the names for him, I was like, this is just a
Yeah.
great mutator. It was just beautiful. I loved every part of it. I could be a righteous gemstone.
Maybe one day. Yet Tzeentch has no final goal, no ultimate triumph. There is no end to his plotting, for the end would be to cease. And he is the god of endless motion. He spins the loom of fate not only to complete a tapestry, but to simply weave, to twist and to remake all that is. It is not the destination he desires, but the endless path, the ceaseless turning of the great spiral. his long reach stretching across the void to where the warp devours reality. The Eye of Terror, the Maelstrom, the Screaming Vortex, his whispers infest the dreams of the ambitious and the desperate. Those who willingly serve him are rare. Those who unknowingly play his game are without number. His greatest power is not those who call him master, but those who do not even realize that they are his pawns all along. That's a good line, man. And that's fucking the ultimate truth of change right there, I think. If you're gonna walk the cult of change, become a Mordor follower, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Even before you got that inkling in your mind that you were going down this path of Tzeentchian worship, Tzeentch already knew, and he's like, ha ha ha.
All according to plan.
Yeah. Many who walk his path are transformed, their bodies reshaped by the tides of mutation, before they can grasp the greatest secrets of the Lord of Change. Those who do survive, who do rise, become terrors beyond imagining, sorcerers who wield the raw essence of the warp, warriors who every step bends fate itself. Tzeentch has no disdain for strength or brutality. Even the most mindless slaughter can serve a greater design, if the strands of fate are twisted just so. Thus, his lieges are not bound by form or creed. Anyone who changes or who reshapes the world around them, who reaches beyond themselves in ambition and desire, may find themselves beneath his gaze. By then, it is already too late. Yeah, I love this concept of like, why is Tzeentch doing this? Like, he's just doing it because that's what he does, man. Like, he's weaving for no reason except to weave.
Just for shiggles.
Yeah, he has no goal necessarily. You know, there's no end spot where he's like, well, once I retake the galaxy, then it's over. He might just be as happy to then give it over to a Xenos Empire to rule. Like,
It's like his thing. It's like he is playing the great game, but he doesn't know the rules on how to win the great game. Like, it's like you're playing 40K, but you don't know what victory points are.
yeah.
Well, speaking of the great game, Fuzz in the chat says this is why they can't win the great game. If they win, they cease to exist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then the liar says Tzeentch and Nurgle stalemate. I feel like Tzeentch and Nurgle stalemate. I feel like Tzeentch plans for rot leads to more change.
For sure.
And that's the thing, right? Like, it's like when we were on the Nurgle episode, I was like, I feel like Nurgle's like a god of time because rot is time and time is rot. Like, it's kind of like that. But Tzeentch is the master manipulator of time. But I think that's the thing, right?
I know in an earlier episode we talked about like win conditions for each faction, or brought it up because, of course, you know the orcs have been winning since day one because they love a good crumpin. Nurgle will ultimately win in the end because everything dies. Khorne is basically winning because the galaxy's at war, and Tzeentch just needs the galaxy to be as it is, and he's still winning.
Or not, or change drastically, and that's good for him too.
Exactly. But yeah, Tzeentch does have a preference for sorcerers and psychers, so those who seek to harness the immaterial, who reach beyond the veil of reality to grasp the shifting tides of the warp, are already entwined in the talons of the great conspirator. Psychers, sorcerers, scholars of the forbidden, they are his playthings, their ambitions kindling for his endless schemes. Whether sanctioned by the Imperium or hunted as heretics, all who wield the raw essence of the Empyrean walk a path paved by his design, their fates already woven into his ever-shifting tapestry. Imperial scribes whisper of an unsettling truth. With each passing generation, the number of psychers among humanity swells, an inexorable tide of mutation rising beneath the stars. And with it, the grasp of the architect of fate tightens. The vigilant forces of the Imperium, the Inquisition, the Adeptus Astra Telepathica, the Adeptus Astronomica, the Scholastia Psychana stand as the trembling bulwarks against his touch, purging and prosecuting, yet never stemming the tide. For every mind cleansed in fire, another awakens to the whisper of the warp. The Imperium binds its psychers in chains of ritual and scrutiny, locking their minds behind endless precautions. Yet what are barriers to the Lord of Change? What are safeguards to a god whose very essence is deception? Systems fail, watchmen falter, and all fortresses of order will crumble given time. Even those entrusted with vigilance are vulnerable, for temptation is subtle, corruption insidious, and the human soul ever hungry for more. Thus the Imperium takes no chances. A commissar's duty is clear. Should the taint of chaos breach a psycher's mind, should the shadow of possession take hold, the response is immediate. Final. A bolt round the skull, a blade through the throat, fire to cleanse all traces. But what use is a single execution against a god whose reach is infinite, whose games span the stars, whose laughter echoes in the thoughts of the unwitting? Even as the Imperium slaughters its own, the Changer of Ways merely watches and waits for every mind destroyed, 1,000 more begin to dream. I'd like to imagine that Whisper in the Warp is like a really demonic Mickey Mouse. Is like, hey, you want to commit some heresy? Bring chaos in the warp.
Gonna burn down a village. Come on.
No.
I like this connection that psychers have specifically to Tzeentch. Like, the easiest way I always describe, and lots of people describe the warp in 40k, is just like 40k's magic system, essentially. That knowledge, that essence that you can tap into and then do magical powers. It doesn't have to necessarily make sense, although sometimes it does.
It's the thing, right? Nothing has to make sense. It's Tzeentch. He's always changing. He's
Yeah.
always doing things.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Exactly.
you dip your toe or your mind into this vast network of knowledge and energies, and you just see, and then Tzeentch instantly takes notice of you. He's like,
And
somebody's doing magic. Somebody wants more power. Somebody's being a little too ambitious. I remember playing like 40k RPGs where we're playing Space Marine and we're playing Death Watch and whatever. I was playing a librarian, and in this game you could maximize your powers. You'd be like, I'm gonna overcharge my power. Chances of peril of the warp's gonna be even better. But fucking every time I did it, and sure shit, eventually I summoned a demon prince that got the whole party killed. But that's just what happens with the warp. You get a little more ambition for power, a little more of that desire, and that's how Tzeentch gets you as soon as any psychic kind of taps into it. Look what else I
absolutely.
have for you.
That's the thing, man. It's just you just see a guy reading a book in a dusty library. Tzeentch is like, "Ooh, we got a live one here."
Ooh, yes.
Just ready to give him that
Minor,
little hint of a inkling of, oh, maybe I should turn the page to this. Oh, I should grab this book and turn the page and see what's there. And it's like
yeah.
just a portal into the warp, and he's like, ah.
There was that one.
Ah.
There was that one Hammer and Bolter episode that was more or less dedicated to Tzeentch, and it was like an Imperial scholar. His entire job is like counting books in like an Imperial library or whatnot to make sure everything's in order.
Yeah.
And he always like miscounts because there's like an extra one that shows up for no reason, but nobody believes him. So he decides to pull out that book. And it was like some kind of litany on the Emperor, but then he looks back over and then it says the Changer of Ways, and then he's just sucked into the book.
Shit.
I haven't seen that one. I gotta watch that. That's great. Oh man.
It's a good one.
And I feel as if the next part that I'm gonna say here, the gifts of Tzeentch, just needs to be said in an evangelical tone.
Gifts of Tzeentch.
And I'm just gonna give it my best shot.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, we are all for this.
All right. To be touched by Tzeentch is to be reshaped, to be drawn into the currents of an unseen design, granted knowledge and power beyond mortal comprehension, yet never the full truth. Each gift is a thread woven into the eternal tapestry of change, a step forward on a path that spirals into directions even the gifted cannot predict.
Praise Tzeentch.
Amen, amen.
The mark of Tzeentch. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Amen. Can I get an amen?
Yeah. Amen. Pastor
Fantastic.
Bro Diddley.
Pastor Rodilly. Oh, God.
Certified. Nice. I think he can wed people now too after that.
Sweet. There you go. Spaghetti Seth, I zoned out for a second. Why did he just turn into a preacher?
Because the Lord of Change demands
The
it.
Lord of Change demands it.
So there's a bunch of different gifts of Tzeentch. Found a whole bunch that we'll read through. Some of them are pretty fun, but man, they're infinite, and you could come up with whatever you want if you're doing like RPGs or just writing your own story. But these ones are they'll give you some vibes for sure.
The Mark of Tzeentch, a mere glimpse of the architect's vast plan shared without reducing the recipient's soul to smoldering ruin. Those who bear this mark find their minds ablaze with arcane potential, their bodies vessels for sorcery's unchained power. Then we have Bedlam Staves, Relics of the Horus heresy, forged in the hands of the thousand suns, now steeped in the echoes of every mind they have silenced. When these staves strike, they unmake thought itself, leaving the target in a moment of blank, terrible stillness, an instant in which fates may be rewritten. That is sick.
Yeah, that's cool.
just,
One of-
I'm gonna touch you with this stick, and you gonna forget everything. Just-
yeah. The guy's feeling invincible. He's like, I got my Terminator on. I'm unstoppable. And then fucking time stops. And it's just, what do you fucking do?
right? Just wait. They just unmake thought. Just you're like, I'm gonna.
The blasted standard, a banner whose symbols refuse to remain still, shifting and warping with each passing moment. Its fabrics hum with raw, coiled energy, releasing waves of violent transmutation when enemies dare approach. The breath of fire. The chosen exhales not mere flame, but like writhing living fire of Tzeentch, a breath that consumes not only flesh, but certainty itself, the changing of ways. To serve Tzeentch is to change without end. Gifts are given are never permanent, for they are but a step in an ongoing evolution. One form dissolves, another takes its place, each iteration bringing the gifted closer to something else. That one's fun. You just get like random mutation. Every day you wake up, you're a different like barnyard animal.
Just wake up.
For Tzeentch.
Just wake it up.
Fun
Do I
fact-
have webbed feet or another toe? I'm unsure.
I'm a duck today.
But fun fact for those who play Total Warhammer, you can actually this is more for a Warhammer Fantasy setting, but you can actually play as a few Tzeentch factions, and one of the special abilities is called the Changing of the Ways, where you can actually, with enough mana, and I forget what the currency is for him, but you basically like switch your main base with somebody else's. So now that their base falls under your control. This is really cool.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Total Warhammer is pretty fun, even though I've only played it once because time and adulting fuck.
Truth.
Anyways. Okay, well, this one sounds a little bit more Slaneshi, but crossbreed with Flamer. Oh my. The flesh yields, the shape twists. What was once a man becomes something neither mortal nor demon. A fusion of sorcerer and flamer. A thing of ceaseless movement and churning fire. The demonic name. No soul can truly claim mastery over itself until it knows the name it holds within the warp. Tzeentch whispers this secret, bestowing power, but in knowing it, the gifted becomes known in turn.
This is an interesting one. Yeah, it's such a crazy thing. Like you can, I like we've all talked about demonic true names and stuff, but like even a human could have like his demon name, where Tzeentch like doesn't turn you into a demon, but imparts some type of like he knows what your soul is almost. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I want to see how somebody does that in like a book.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Which that kind of brings a really interesting question. Demon Primarchs. We know their name as they become Demon Primarchs, but do they actually have a demonic name too?
Yeah, I would definitely imagine. You know, I like to think we talked about this too, like what comes first, the name or the demon? And I was kind of talking about how the name is the demon, where it's like when you speak that name, that is the power and the meaning and the essence that you're putting into it. And then that's what that demon is. So I would imagine the same goes for when you're making a demon prince and transforming a mortal into the demonic. Yeah, you would still need that name first to grant him
Very interesting.
the power, yeah.
But
I'll run some more experiments in real life and see what happens if I can make some demon princes out here. But I'll get back to you. I'll get back.
everyone prepare for the return of the Demon Primarch Marcus, the true end of the Lorehammer heresy.
The Lorehammer heresy. Oh, jeez. That'd be a different one.
Yeah. But there's also demonic weapons. The Death Screamers, blades, staves, and talismans infused with the essence of gibbering, ever-shifting horrors. Their wielders do not merely strike, they sear, they unmake, they tear the veil between realities.
Rip it, tear, and tell it to stop.
Yeah, they're fun weapons for sure. Magical, like just like unknown. Yeah, you tap somebody on the head with it and it just flings them across the galaxy onto an ice planet. And like you're like, I didn't even know the staff could do that.
Well, you wouldn't really know that it flung them onto an ice planet. You would just know that they just disappeared. You're like,
God, you just...
oh.
I just know when I hit people with it, they either explode in a pink mist or they just disappear.
Right? I would love a demonic weapon that like an RPG where it would be like a what do they call it? It's not a power quill. They call it something. But like basic yeah, it's like it's auto quill or something like that where it like
Okay, yeah.
automatically writes for them while they're dictating to it. I would love somebody to have one of those and be like a Tzeentchian weapon and be like a changer of ways. And every time, if you want to get rid of somebody, you basically just go up and you touch them with the quill and they turn into a book.
They turn it, and then you can read them. You can read them, damn it!
You can read their thoughts. And then they just go onto your shelf and you just have a massive library.
Somebody,
say this
man,
for the
give
sake-
this guy Demon Prince status. I want to go to this library.
This is ringing to like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure stuff right here, because there are certain abilities where you can do that.
What do we have here? I think these are the names of the weapons, right, Mark?
These are just like the gifts of change.
Oh,
different ones.
still the gifts of change. Okay,
Yeah.
so we have the destiny of Tzeentch, to see not with mortal sight, but through the ever-shifting prism of fate itself. The chosen moves before their foes act, for they have already glimpsed what is to come. Kind of an interesting like. I zigged when you thought I was going to zag, but I saw that you were going to zig when I zagged. So I zagged first, and you zigged.
Yeah, like the difference almost between the way Nurgle and Tzeentch use time is Nurgle, it's that inevitability. It's like eventually you will rot, but like with Tzeentch, it's he's looking actually into the future. You know, he can see the future and then change it, but ultimately it's always gonna rot.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, the discs of Tzeentch, demonic entities that soar upon the unseen currents of the warp, writhing with spectral energy. These living constructs, neither steed nor servant, may carry the blessed into battle, whispering secrets as they fly. I just imagine, you know, that thing where like you think you hear somebody say something, and you're like, "What?
He
What's that?"
doesn't love you.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So I would just imagine you're about to go into battle. You're like, oh, man, it's sick. Like I'm riding my disc, and then you're just like, look to the left, and like you're like,
Who's there? Your wiener's actually out. No, it's not.
yeah. It's like I know your banking pin code. And it's like, huh, how do you get that secret? It's for some reason that just makes me think like whispering secrets as they fly. It's like RSPs are a crime. Oh man. So we've got the Eye of Tzeentch. Third eye sprouting upon flesh or armor, a window into futures yet to be. Those who bear it move with an eerie certainty, reacting to dangers before they unfold. That's pretty cool.
Pretty common mutation. Extra eyes and shit. You know, the
Yeah.
more you see, the more you know.
The more you see, the more you know. Like,
Don't the astropaths have like that third eye or something from, I guess, older lore?
mhm,
They have it even in new lore too, for sure.
yeah.
Okay.
It's hasn't gone away.
They're all eyes of Tzeentch. Plot twist.
Yeah.
No.
We cracked the case.
Up next, we got the ecstatic duplication. Death is but a transition. When the bearer falls, their form splits, unraveling into twin echoes of themselves. Blue horrors, laughing, shrieking, awaiting the moment to be born anew. Well, that doesn't sound like a rebirth of me. That just sounds like blue horrors. Well, that's fucked, but okay. The face of horror. Flesh reshapes, features melt. A maniac grinning maw or a snarling contemptuous frown. Either may emerge, but for the bearer is no longer truly mortal, but something closer to the gibbering demons that dance in the shadows of the warp. And the other one is the face of the Lord of Change. So the other one was like the face of the horror, the lesser demon. And this is like the greater demon's face. The head lengthens and bone shifts, and the eyes gleam with unknowable insight. The countenance of a bird-like seer, a reflection of the architect's own messages. It's kind of cool.
Spoopy. All right. I'm gonna here's my take for an evangelical preacher voice. The face of Tzeentch. To wear this gift is to embody change itself. The features do not settle, do not remain fixed, one moment a king, the next a beggar, the next something beyond human understanding. The visage shifts and flows, mirroring the inscrutable mind of the changer of ways itself. Amen.
What's with the towel there, homeboy? Like, yeah, it's making me nervous, your outfit.
It is my secret Tzeentch robe. Thank you very much.
Okay. Keep your secrets.
The
It's fine.
Feel
I see
secrets.
what you did there. Oh. The flaming
Oh,
arm.
boy.
One limb is unmade, remade. In its place, a roiling limb of iridescent fire, an appendage stolen from a flamer of Tzeentch, endlessly seething with warp-born flame. An arm stolen from a flamer of Tzeentch. So I can just imagine, like, if you're a Tzeentch player and you accidentally drop your flamer and break off its arm, you can just say, "Oh, it was stolen as an arm of Tzeentch and given to
The
somebody
flesh
else."
change has begun. Where once it was a
Yes.
flamer, now it is a Tzeentchian sorcerer.
Fantastic. The hand of Tzeentch. The fingers elongate, the palm broadens, nails harden into cruel talons. No longer flesh, no longer bound by mortal design. This is a limb shaped after the horrors themselves.
I love hands. Oh man, it sounds like an awful thing though. Just the fingers elongate. Ugh. All right, massive intellect. To glimpse a fragment of the great conspirator's mind is to know too much and yet never enough. The mind expands, thoughts race, reality itself bends to newfound understanding. But what has been gained and what has been lost? Right. Talisman of Tzeentch, a conduit to the warp, a beacon of disruption. In the presence of this artifact, the minds of lesser psychers fray, their control slipping, their will unspooled by unseen forces. The warp blade, a weapon that does not merely cut, it severs certainty itself. Psychic energy dissipates upon its edge, its strike not merely wounding flesh, but unraveling the very essence of those who stand against it. That is freaking
Yeah,
cool.
that's a cool one. Yeah.
Yeah, just I'm gonna cut you with my sword, but guess what? It's literally unraveling your soul. It's like, don't do that.
Ah,
No.
not my delicate soul.
Not my delicate soul.
Final gift that we have here is the Warpsmith gift. A mind no longer bound by the constraints of the mortal plane. The bearer does not navigate the warp as others do. They shape it, command it, mold it to their will as if they were never born of the material realm of all at all. So kind of like, yeah, like, you know, if lots of psychers, they can control the material or the warp in the material. Like they have this ability even more powerful in the immaterium to control it all and kind of manifest some powers, which is pretty cool, or manifest some will or some zones or whatever. Each gift is a curse, each boon a step further from selfhood. Each transformation, another blinding thread in Cheech's endless shifting design. To accept his favor is to accept change itself, unstoppable, unknowable, inescapable. Yeah, like you could just come up with any type of gift of change here that you want. Your third legs are perfect. Yeah, any type of weird like body growths are acceptable for sure.
It really seems like you get a mixed bag.
Mark, you already have a third leg.
Thanks, friend.
I'm sure that's Slanesh's realm of gifthood.
Oh man.
But yeah, this seems like a kind of a mixed bag with the gifts because like you get something cool like a warp blade or a talisman of Tzeentch, but then you get something like a flamer, it's like you steal a flamer's arm or you turn into a horror.
Yeah, a lot of them you won't go back to your day job again. Like it's awfully tough to, click on your keyboard with your elongated talons that is also on fire.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the price of jeans, I guess. You can't go back to your day job. And that's fine.
That's definitely a change. But what happens if one ascends to demonhood under Tzeentch? Let's find out. To achieve demonhood in the service of Tzeentch is to become both a puppet and a puppet master in the grand incomprehensible scheme of fate. It is not a simple ascension, but a twisting transformation where the mortal's very essence is molded by the ever shifting hands of the changer of ways. The price of such power is steep. The mortal must surrender their soul to the infinite labyrinth of Tzeentch's plots, their every thought and action becoming a part of the greater design beyond their understanding. Those who succeed are granted form and substance, but they are forever changed, their bodies contorted into ever mutating shapes that reflect the whimsy of their new cosmic master. Their minds become a maze of impossible strategies, constantly evolving with the tides of the warp, and their power flows with the same chaotic uncertainty that defines Tzeentch itself. Demonhood is both a reward and a curse, an exalted position within the ranks of the warp, but one forever bound to the manipulation of the changer, forever serving a purpose that can never be fully grasped. It is a fate few can endure, and fewer still can truly control.
Yeah, it's kind of the ultimate thing. Like, your path to demonhood, your goal is like unlimited power for yourself, essentially. But the only way to give that is to pledge yourself to one of the gods. So in return, you kind of lose yourself to these gods and the change and all of that. But you do gain power, and maybe you can shoot lightning bolts, which might be worth it to you.
Wait, you said lightning bolts?
Right from the tips of your fingers, my boy. I've seen it myself.
Well, I do say that sounds pretty good, my friend. Be gone, the Death Emperors. Behold the changer of ways.
Well, I
You've
do
been
declare, sir,
corrupted,
you have
man.
such a way with describing this lightning ability.
Ability.
I'm telling you right now, Tzeentch just is just a really evangelical, convincing pastor that gets you to do heinous
Yeah.
stuff.
Just join his cult. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Tzeentch, the changer of ways, the mayor of Jonestown. just oh no.
I'll change
Yeah.
you from alive to dead.
Oh no. Oh no. Anyways,
Oh no!
we should really talk about some Tzeentchian corruption. Tzeentch, the changer of ways, the architect of fate, the great conspirator. He alone among the ruinous powers most fully embodies the boundless essence of chaos itself. He is not mere bloodshed, not simple decay, nor indulgence of the flesh. His touch is subtle, his influence insidious. To walk his path is not to revel, nor to rot, nor to slaughter. It is to unravel the very fabric of reality, to see beyond the veil, to grasp the forbidden and shape destiny itself. For some reason, I thought it said to grasp the forbidden fruit. I was like, and shape time, it's destiny itself.
Man.
Oh man. And yet few are those who willingly offer themselves to his embrace. The gifts of the Lord of Sorcery do not burn with the immediate ecstasy of Slanesh, nor do they grant the crude and brutish strength of corn, nor the twisted immortality of Nurgle's filth. No, Tzeentch whispers and he waits. His is the call that reaches those who thirst for knowledge, the scholar who covets the unseen, the psyker who hungers for the raw and infinite power of the warp. For those gifted or cursed with the ability to shape reality through psychic will, the great mutator extends a hand draped in revelation. He alone offers mastery over the immaterial, the secrets that the Imperium fears above all else. His is the art of sorcery, the ancient wisdom that twists the fabric of existence itself. The psyker who listens, who heeds the call, will learn, but in learning they are bound. Each revelation is another chain, each triumph another step upon a path that was never truly their own. The more they grasp, the deeper they sink into the grand schemer's design. Their will not their own, but his, their fate another thread in his great and terrible tapestry. Even the mighty have fallen. Magnus the Red, a being of near godlike knowledge and psychic mastery, sought only to preserve his legion, to safeguard the wisdom of the warp, and yet, for all his foresight, he was already ensnared, already claimed. His defiance merely another move in Tzeentch's endless game.
Yeah, it almost definitely seems like Tzeentch cares the least about his servants, and like to be a follower of Tzeentch ultimately like leads to your own destruction, even more so than the other ones. Like Korn, like yeah, you'll eventually die if you keep going to war over and over. But like you could collect a lot of skulls before you go. You know, say with Slanish, you could get up to some fun weekend activities with the grandparents and Slanish if you wanted to.
Mhm.
You know, you could do all these things, but with Chinch, it's like, yeah, you can try to plan and try to be useful for him, but he has other plans for you. You know, it doesn't matter. There's no plot that you're gonna further.
What makes this kind of ironic is the people who do willingly join us, and yet they're surprised if their fortune doesn't turn in their favor. It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
buddy, my brother in Tzeentch, you knew what you were signing up for.
yeah.
My brother in Tzeentch. That's the thing, man. It's like you think you're better than Magnus the Red? Get wrecked. Like,
Do you think you're better than Magnus the Red?
yeah,
No, no, I do not. So more on Chinchi and corruption. But the allure of the changer of ways is not limited to those who wield sorcery. Even the mundane, the unthinking masses are drawn into his schemes. A whispered promise, a forbidden truth, an opportunity too tempting to resist. These are tools of the great deceiver. A noble in the halls of the imperial power granted insight into the rival's darkest secrets. A bureaucrat gifted knowledge that will elevate them above their peers. A desperate laborer led to believe that enlightenment will free them from their chains. Thus do the mystery cults rise. They do not proclaim themselves servants of chaos, not at first. They wear masks of wisdom and salvation of progress. They offer knowledge, a path forward, an escape from toil, from ignorance, from oppression. And so the faithful gather, eager and trusting, never realizing that with each passing step they take, with each revelation they accept, they become less their own and more his. The Inquisition fears Chinch above all, for his touch is the most insidious, his followers the most elusive. Where Korn revels in his open slaughter, where Nurgle's gifts fester in plain sight, where Slanish's tempts the pleasure of the flesh, Chinch's hand is unseen, his cults hidden, his designs so vast that none can truly comprehend them. And so the Imperium watches and burns all that it suspects. But for what fire and steel to one who wrote the script of their downfall? What is the resistance to a god of whom every move, every counter, every desperate act of defiance is but another step in a dance that has already been choreographed? The Lord of Change does not simply act, he has already won. Yeah, you hear some of these creepy like AIs where, you know, they know everything before you're even gonna do it, man. He just knows. He knows it all. We're all just playing this silly little game.
Basically,
He knows when I'm pooping. He knows when I'm awake.
knows if you've been bad or
he
good.
sees you when you're sleeping.
Oh man, I do gotta say though, the last line, "The Lord of Change does not simply act; he has already won." That I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. The Lord of Change does not simply act; he has already won. Like it's
Already
just,
won.
Amen.
I'm telling you.
Amen.
Have you guys? Can you guys tell? I have recently started watching The Righteous Gemstones. Baby Billy is my hero.
Ah, it's really seeping into your personality.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'm telling you right now, it didn't seep into it at all until I started reading some of the zine stuff, and I was like, this is perfect.
A cult's a cult's a cult. They all sound the same, I
That's what
guess,
I'm
you know?
saying, man. That's what I'm saying. It's a good time.
And now we gather to celebrate the great mysteries of Tzeentch. Oh, da, da, man.
Oh, no, no, man.
Lord. But here's the thing: not everyone gets to become a greater demon or a demon prince. Some get to become a lovely chaos spawn. Chaos Spawn are the grotesque remnants of those who sought to manipulate fate itself, only to be undone by the ever-changing, capricious nature of Tzeentch. These once ambitious souls, desperate for ascension and power through demonhood, have been reshaped into abominations, twisted beyond recognition by the fickle hand of the Changer of Ways. Their bodies, racked by endless mutations, are no longer their own, and their minds are shattered, driven mad by the labyrinthine plots and schemes of Tzeentch. The path to power that once glittered with possibility now leads to their downfall, as they are cast aside by their chaotic patron, deemed unworthy of further manipulation or sacrifice, abandoned by former allies, or reduced to nothing more than grotesque mascots. These wretched creatures are driven into battle, their deformed forms a mockery of the power they once sought, whether in the form of the smallest dog-like horrors or the towering, unrecognizable monstrosities. The Chaos Spawn are the tangible evidence of Tzeentch's eternal game, forever reshaped, ever mutating, bound to an unknowable fate that bends and twists with every moment. And now you shall be cast aside. Do it.
Yeah, fuck. You're even too twisted and mutated for change. She's like, yeah, even that's a little much, bud. Like, control yourself.
Control yourself. Oh man, I love it. Just like the smallest dog like horror or towering unrecognizable monstrosities. Like imagine you're like, I'm gonna get so much power. I'm gonna be a Tzeentchian sorcerer. This is gonna be so
Yeah, it's gonna
awesome.
be
And then
so good.
and then you just like change like down to like this like 17 armed like rat dog, and you're like, why does God hate
Ah,
me?
so close.
All right, you've committed heinous acts in the name of Tzeentch. I hereby grant you the power of the warp. And here we go, change. Oh shit! I went too far. We're just gonna
Oh, oh,
fluff him off to the side. Put him on the vanguard. He'll be the first one to die.
right, exactly. He'll be the first one.
Let that be like a warning to the rest of you guys, or something.
Now, let that be a lesson. I don't know what the lesson was, but learn. It's like, after thinking about that, you can become a demonhood, or you can become a 17 armed spawn with 17 eyes and 17 butt cheeks. I don't know. Or you could just
All
be
left butt cheeks.
yeah, all left butt cheeks. You don't know how you know that they're the left butt cheek, but you know.
Oh, you know.
Everybody looks
Ugh.
at you, they're like, why is everything left-handed? But you do have to know the notable forces of the cult of change, because not all of it's just demonhood and spawndom. We got some serious culties going on here. The mortal champions of Tzeentch are perilous beyond reckoning, for they wield sorcerous might that twists reality itself, a layer to top their formidable physical prowess, but raw power alone does not fill the ranks of the architect of fate. No, his legions swell with philosophers who question too deeply, scientists who pry into forbidden truths, and artists who seek forms unseen. The scholars who hunger for knowledge blinds them to the price. Tzeentch adores those who unravel mysteries and challenge the natural order. For such minds are but threads waiting to be woven into his grand design. I never really thought about the scientist when it came to Tzeentch. Like I've always only scholars, historians, like people seeking the arcane knowledge, but that doesn't
Yeah.
really end. Like you can, I need to figure out how to synthesize this certain chemical, but now I can't figure it out, and you're just continually trying to figure this problem, and you're doing things that become more and more unethical until Tzeentch shows you the most unethical way to do it, but it gets the job done, and now you're just in his grasp,
Now
right?
you're the proud owner of 17 armed, 17 left-butted chaos spawn.
And you're just like, man,
Good for you. You went too far. Good for you though. That's
I've been looking for this. And Tzeentch is like,
I've been keeping my eye out on Amazon, but shit, they were always out. Now,
Tzeentch is like, finally, somebody's taking my
finally.
mistake. The changer of ways takes particular delight in those who trespass where mortal minds were never meant to go. A scholar who stares too long at the void between equations, a historian who pieces together truth lost to time, an inventor who dreams of impossible machines. Each stands on the precipice, their obsession the whisper of an open door. Some seek him deliberately, their desperation leading them to arcane rites and hidden supplications. Others, however, do not even realize they have strayed into his coils. A cryptic manuscript appearing unbidden on a cluttered desk, a colleague whose insights are uncanny yet enthralling. A dream that lingers with impossible clarity. Tzeentch does not demand fealty, he merely offers a path, and the mind that walks it willingly will never walk alone again. That is, man, Mark, you got a real artistry for writing notes.
Yeah, one word leads to another, and then change.
And then change. You're like, Mark's just sitting here like, actually, Brody, I just typed for 17 hours. No words were on the document. I closed it and then I opened it again, and the episode had written
I was,
itself.
yeah, I was really nervous. I was gonna tell you guys we had no notes. I opened it up and it was all done for me. I'm like,
Oh
I don't know how this keeps happening, but every time works every time. Thank God.
god. 60% of the time works every time.
Yeah, there's so many different areas that would call to change so many different things. And he offers something to everyone else. And yeah, whether you're just some lowly scribe or some manufactorum worker, there's always some reason to fall to this god.
Yeah, like I had never thought about like the scientist or the inventor, like who dreams of impossible machines. What does that look like? Like,
Sure. That's how you get Mauler and Forge Fiends. Yeah.
now coming
Maybe
out
add a
with the
sprinkling of Batch Tour.
Forge Fiend Mini. It's just like a dog-sized Forge Fiend.
Oh yeah, make it shoot plasma.
Oh boy.
So the most notable servants are usually Chaos Space Marines. We'll talk about them. Chaos Space Marines who fall to change are marked by their relentless pursuit of knowledge, their insatiable desire to reshape the future according to their will. They are driven not solely by raw power or brutality, but by the cunning and treachery of the Changer of Ways, seeking to manipulate reality itself through complex schemes, hidden pacts, and intricate rituals. These Marines often find themselves caught in the web of ever-shifting fates, constantly striving to outwit their enemies, even if it means turning on their own allies. Their bodies and armor may warp into bizarre forms, reflecting their mastery over mutation, sorcery, and time itself. They are the architects of grand designs, forever changing the course of events, all while holding to the belief that their loyalty to Tzeentch will ultimately lead them to a power beyond mortal understanding. So, Tzeentch is interesting. When it comes to Chaos Space Marines, Tzeentch seems to be very specific and really only seems to like the Thousand Suns. Now, the Thousand Suns, they have a bunch of war bands, and we're going to talk about the Thousand Suns really briefly, but it seems like Tzeentch definitely prefers them the most, to the point of almost exclusion. We do a Black Legion that, can worship Tzeentch and stuff, but do you guys kind of get that vibe too, where Tzeentch is almost like every time you see a Tzeentch follower, it's always a Rubicon.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the main force would be like Thousand Suns, like on the front lines. Maybe the odd Black
Yeah.
Legionnaire that were formed from Thousand Suns, like in Talon of Horus. What was the guy's name? There was an ex Thousand Suns Marine that actually went on to become a founding member of the Black Legion. Oh, Iskander Kion. That was his name.
Guy. I think you're kind of right. Yeah, like it's one of those things where you hear of like Chaos Space Marines in general, and they usually can form a multitude of different like looks. Like you can have the guys that are more like the Night Lords or the Alpha Legion or whatever, and different modern Space Marine bands can fall to stuff like that, but not a lot of them fall to sorcery and Tzeentch because
Yeah.
it's like in the Horus Heresy, that was like their whole thing with the Thousand Sons. They were the sorceress legion, and you don't really have that with like certain Space Marine chapters now because it's all very regulated. You can only have so many librarians and yada yada yada.
Yeah,
So
I guess that's a good point where like anyone can wield a chain axe and,
mm,
get a little crazy. But yeah, to
yeah,
have that first initial like psyker spark, in order for the change to even really care about you in the first place.
yeah, like it's some. I think sometimes like a good one, like I know they're loyal, but like a good like example of somebody who I wouldn't be surprised if they were a Tzeentchian chapter of Space Marines would be like the Black Dragons with all their growths that they have coming up because it's a flesh change,
Sure.
right? So I'm like, okay, like flesh change, but they're not really psychically attuned. So yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's kind of one of those things where I'm like, like a lot of the Space Marine chapters that could fall to them are already kind of like set up so that they wouldn't.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this brings up a good point in the comments because I was actually going to bring this up myself. You beat me to it by like a few seconds, Fuzz. What about the Alpha Legion? Like the way they kind of are all about like subterfuge and destabilization and just a lot of background scheming. That would be very Tzeentchian to me. Now, granted, I don't think it's really established if Alfarius and Omegon were quite the psychers like Magnus, but the way they do a lot of scheming in the background and subterfuge screams very much Tzeentch.
Yeah. Yeah, and like it's not that the other ones can't do it. It's just like we have to think about, okay, yeah, I like this Alpha Legion. We have to actually talk that through then and come to the end. With yeah, a lot of the other gods are just it calls to a wider range of people as opposed to this god.
Mhm.
Exactly. Like even Nurgle, you can very a Space Marine chapter that's been decimated and they're all wounded and they're just trying to survive and they're trying to find any way to just prolong their lives and maybe heal themselves and then boom, you got an infection. Oh no, the infection. Oh no, infection. Oh, infection. Like it kind of goes from bad to good, right?
Yeah. Fuzz says, yeah, I think it's doing Chincha a disservice so pigeonhole him into magic so hard with only the Thousand Suns. Like I said, it's not only. My point is more like of all the gods, he's the most exclusionary. Not that Thousand Suns are the only ones that get it.
I would
Is
I would
more
love to see a
the
chaos
point.
warband that is like a Tzeentchian chaos warband. Just see where that would actually how that would happen. Did like the leader of the Librarius in that chapter basically poison the minds of everybody else, right? Like and he was the changer within the chapter and then soon everybody started getting all these different things, right? So I think it's kind of
Yeah.
one of those things where I would love to see more people try and do that, but it's one of those things where it's so generic because magic, Thousand Suns, because Thousand Suns had magic.
Sure.
Mhm.
It's like, well, yeah, but like anybody can like we're all inherently
Be
psychers.
creative.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
path of least
Yeah,
resistance
path of
Yeah.
least
for the
resistance
writers, at
for it.
least.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
I do have a little bit about the Thousand Sons I'll read, but they truly deserve their own episode, and we will get to them eventually. So I thought we won't spoil too much of their story quite yet, but this is what we do know. Once the Thousand Sons were a legion bound to the Emperor's will, forged to reclaim the stars for humanity's dominion. They were the 15th Legion, standing proudly as one of the most distinguished of the Space Marine legions. In the early years of the Great Crusade, they fought with honor almost indistinguishable from their brethren, until the whispers of change began to weave its insidious thread through their ranks. And then I wrote about 3 pages of spoilers, soon TM, the Thousand Sons, now forever entwined with the Changer of Ways, are more than mere traders. They are the embodiment of change itself, a force of cosmetic manipulation, a living testament to the twisted fate and the inexorable pull of destiny. Yeah, the Thousand Sons, we don't want to go too hard on them. They're so prominent, but they're the big thing is that they're all psychers. This legion, every one of them is a psyker. So like we were saying, it's just prime Tzeentch fuckery.
Mhm.
Just really just
I agree, but Liar brought up a really good comment. I want to see the tech side of it in a chapter. Delve too deep into forbidden texts, and now ta-da, Tzeentch daddy. So, but like
Interesting.
I
Yeah.
think that would be actually really cool. You're like trying to get like going too deep into trying to get um your tech to be too good. Like, so my arm got cut off. I need a new arm instead of like, doing this whole thing where you just get one that was already pre-made. You're trying to make the best replica of your arm, and you're trying to do these things, and you're delving so deep into the tech and how can I get this to work, and then you find this little thing that allows you, and now you've got a demon arm, and it's like, ha, demon flavor arm.
Every time.
Yeah, but I think that would
From
be
the
really
moment I
cool.
understood the weakness of my
Yeah,
flesh,
the weak
it disgusted me.
so yeah, the AI worshippers of Tzeentch.
I'd like to take it a step even further. Go for the tech side, but also kind of mix in like the psyker stuff. So like create like this mishmash of like warp stuff and technology that doesn't necessarily fall under demon engines. And then that could be a very easy way to include more than just magic and Thousand Suns, that sort of
Yeah.
thing. Because what is magic but possibly another misunderstood field to study? Hmm?
Yeah, it'd be cool to take like warp and stick it into warp batteries. Now you have guys that can kind of shoot out lightning from these warp batteries,
It's actually
We
sick.
definitely have
Yeah, I like that.
yeah, we have devices that can trap demons and stuff.
Yeah.
So like why not be able to trap a different form of warp energy that then, science is indistinguishable from magic as that saying goes. So,
Mm-hmm. If it's advanced enough.
yeah, if you keep getting there, yeah.
Yeah. And forgot what I was gonna go with this. Mechanicus or Tzeentch.
Right.
Both?
Funny.
Why not both?
¿Por qué no los dos? There. So Mark has here a little bit about the Prosperous Spire Guard. The Prosperous Spire Guard, an Imperial Army regiment of the Great Crusade, bound to the 28th Expedition Fleet and the enigmatic Thousand Suns, were not mere soldiers but instruments of fate, forged in the depths of a cosmic web spun by powers beyond mortal comprehension. Within their ranks, a hierarchy of specialized forces took shape, each one a cog in the grand design. The 15th Prosperian Assault Infantry, the Air Guard, the Northern Palatine Guard, the Prospero Assault Pioneers, the Western Palatine Guard. Take your pick. Choose your poison. Their weapons, many steeped in mystery and potency, spoke of a divine purpose, even as they betrayed their origins in the Medane. Heavy artillery, the crushing force of Malcador tanks, and the precision of las weapons, auto weapons, and sabers filled the arsenal of the Spire Guard. Yet these were but tools, instruments to achieve an unknowable end. Officers brandished las pistols, their sabers, long, curved, and deadly. More than mere swords, but symbols of the carefully constructed machinations of their creator. The Spire Guard Templars wielded sickle-headed power axes, each swing an echo of unseen hands pulling at the strings of destiny. Their armor, while ballistic and functional, whispered of protection against forces not fully understood. Some Spire Guard bore displacer fields or riot shields, tools to deflect not only weapons but fate itself. The uniforms of the Spire Guard were no less part of the grand tapestry. In the bitter cold of Arc Reach Secundus, crimson greatcoats trimmed with fur from the snow strikes of the Avenians concealed the chilling secrets of their creators. Officers of the 15th Prosperian Assault Infantry adorned themselves in silver helmets and crimson jackets, their insignia of brass buttons and gold frogging hinting at a grandeur beyond their battlefield roles. Yet the crimson uniforms, with their golden embellishments, made the Spire Guard appear almost ceremonial, a visual illusion, perhaps, designed to veil the true purpose behind their existence, to resist the coming storm even in the face of Astartes' fury. The history of the Prosperous Spire Guard is once written in tragedy, a tale of sacrifice and betrayal. As part of the 28th Expeditionary Fleet, they took part in the campaign on Arc Reach Secundus, only to face annihilation aboard the waning moon when it fell prey to destruction wrought by the furious abyss, an event that left half their regiment torn apart by the unseen forces of chaos. I would very much like to see a model line of this. If we're going to go with the
Yeah.
theme of releasing Thousand Suns, like models that aren't actually Thousand Suns, or that's anything but Thousand Suns, Go ahead and release these
Yeah.
guys.
Right?
They would be cool, but man, they're so close. Like they're still from the same homeworld as Thousand Suns. I've seen a lot of people use the solar auxiliary for these guys model. I don't think that I wouldn't say that's canon or advisable. I've just seen that happening a lot and I couldn't quite pin down a reason for that, but
I think it's because like the steampunkiness of the Solar Auxilia. So
hmm,
one of those things, right?
sure.
Could be. When Prospero itself fell to the wrath of the Space Wolves, the Spire Guard fought with a ferocity that betrayed their outward appearance. Yet the true horror lay in what came after. The war that followed during the siege of Fenris would see the Spire Guard forever altered, consumed by chaos, their souls woven into the dark fabric of a greater power. Now serving the Thousand Suns under Magnus the Red, they would never again know peace, but only the relentless pull of destiny's crooked hand guiding them down the paths of ruin. Their actions shaping the tides of fate for millennia to come.
Cool. Yeah, they definitely would be a fun regiment for sure.
They give very much like almost like a medieval Islamic or Turkic helmets that are kind of like I think of the Spire Guard as like silver helmets that like have like the spire that kind of comes up and there's like yeah, like I don't know,
Uh-huh.
and they like have great curved swords and axes that have like this like half moon shape, and I'm like, it gives very like Middle Eastern medieval kind of like a look to it. Like I think very like exotic silk uniforms makes them look pretty, but you're like, oh, they're not deadly. But then, so
Yeah. Yeah. The way they kinda a little bit weave magic and tech together with psychers using like illusion spells, that's kinda cool. I kinda picture you saying like your vibe of Eastern or whatever, a little bit of that curved sword. I want to toss in a bit of like Wakanda almost, where it's like their technology is almost it doesn't why does adamantium work that way? We don't know. It just fucking does. And that seems to be like their gear. It could all be these kind of like magical trinkets of illusion and all these items.
Very
I like
cool.
that idea of
Yeah.
things.
Wakanda
Yeah.
forever!
It even talked about these guys were known for having like shield generators and stuff, personal shield generators and stuff, which is pretty good just for a regular guard regiment. But just kind of more of that almost like these guys have this like technological magic on their side since they don't have the true magic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. I think it'd be super cool to see somebody try and do that like regiment justice because it's you could take it so many different ways, right? But another group that is not like the Prospering Spire Guard, we have the Thrall Wizards. In the shifting webs of fate and deceit spun by the changer of ways, the Thrall Wizards serve as mortal pawns to the Thousand Suns. Their powers drawn from the secrets whispered within the hidden corners of the cosmos. On the forsaken planet of sorcerers, the Thousand Suns found no more than an empty cradle upon their escape from the burning ruins of Prospero. Over the eons, however, that emptiness has become filled with souls snatched from the far reaches of the galaxy. And from this ever growing collection of captives, the Changer of Wades has crafted his tools, the Thrall Wizards. Physically attuned mortals that are the most prized, their fates inevitably twisting into the service of the Thousand Suns. Those who bear the spark of sorcery may find themselves bound in unholy servitude to a sorcerer, acting as assistants in the dark rituals of power. Even those who know nothing of the arcane can find their place among the thralls, for the path of servitude often leads to greater things. In time, with enough cunning and servility, they may rise through the ranks to serve as apprentices to the thrall champions. Learning to weave the simplest of spells, some may even ascend beyond that, rising to become wizards of their own, or perhaps something more. For some, the path leads to the exalted status of Chaos Champions or even Demon Princes, their mortal origins nothing more than a fleeting whisper in the twisting tides of fate. and yet their role in battle is not one of simple subservience. The thrall wizards become the very weaponry of the Silver Towers, their powers channeled through the numerous balconies and spires to rain bolts of magical fury upon the enemies of Tzeentch. They are not mere servants, they are instruments of the Changer's will, each spell fired a manifestation of his eternal manipulation of fate itself.
Man, like of all the places in 40K or 30K to go to, Prospero would be one of the coolest ones. Like just this magical land where people from across the galaxy kind of go there to study and to train this esoteric knowledge. And yeah, like these guys are, you know, you just picture this city. They it's like the pyramid city, and everything's glowing and gleaming, and everything's polished so nicely. And there's floating statues, and water's going up waterfalls instead of down. Everything seems slightly off. It's this very. It'd be one of the wildest places in all of 40K, I'm sure.
Reserve your tickets now.
Yeah. And then, you know, it eventually gets turned into a demon world, and then it would become even more fucking rowdy to go to, but less comprehensible. Go check out you can check out some places, Lexicanum, Codexes, whatever. You could find a bunch of different Space Marines and stuff. But like I said, Thousand Suns and their warbands seem to be the primary guys. And then I found, the Spire Guard and these Thrall Wizards and some other stuff at Thousand Suns. But the next thing we'll jump into is Renegades and Cults. Mortal renegades and cultists are the twisted servants of chaos, each a type of reflection of the dark allure of the warp, driven by ambition, despair, or the intoxicating promises of forbidden power. Renegades are often those who abandon the structures of imperial society, fleeing from the yoke of authority to embrace the freedom granted by chaos, whether through greed, desperation, or disillusionment. They are mercenaries, traitors, and outcasts, seeking strength in the unpredictable forces of the warp, willing to sell their souls for the fleeting power. Cultists, on the other hand, are devout followers of the Chaos Gods, their minds and bodies warped by the intoxicating worship of the ruinous powers. These individuals operate in secret, sowing discord and corruption, their fanaticism growing as they strive to fulfill the will of the Dark Patrons. Whether seeking knowledge, power, or simply the embrace of damnation, both renegades and cultists serve as pawns in the great cosmic game, their lives and fates dedicated by the whims of entities they so eagerly serve. Yeah, so very cool. There's a bunch of different types of cultists out there. These were some of the more interesting ones, but there are definitely a lot more. We're going to start with the Tanzagors, which are not what you'd think, but let's learn about them.
The Zangors. Everyone's favorite Thousand Suns mini because they are in every single combat patrol, and there's way too many of them. But they're really cool looking, though. I'll give them that. Beastmen are abhuman creatures. Their body is a grotesque fusion of man and beast. They are primal, driven by base instincts, yet their existence is deliberate mockery of nature's design. Zongors are not mere beastmen, but twisted disciples of Tzeentch, birthed from the ever-changing warp and the will of the Changer of Ways. Zongors are considered natives of the planet of sorcerers, a desolate world that became alive only with the arrival of the Thousand Suns. Over countless eons, mortals, both captive and free, have populated the planet, drawn into Tzeentch's schemes, their very existence woven into the fabric of the warp. Among the enslaved are the free, and the free live the Zongors, being beings whose origins remain a mystery. Were they beastmen brought to this world, or are they a result of the planet's own sinister mutations? Regardless of their origin, they have become a significant force, their numbers swelling enough to serve as guardians for the towers of the Thousand Suns. Though treated well by their sorcerous masters, they are no less bound by Tzeentch's intricate web of fate. Unlike their brutish cousins, Zongors are creatures of intellect and vibrancy, their minds sharp and their bodies painted in vivid hues that reflect the shifting winds of the warp. Yet beneath their sophistication lies an inherent cruelty, a thirst for power that drives them to seek out arcane relics, hoping to climb the ladder of Tzeentch's favor. They serve as both pawns and tools, cannon fodder in the endless schemes of their masters, absorbing enemy fire to shield the advancing Thousand Suns. But their true purpose is far more insidious. Across the ever-shifting landscape of the planet of sorcerers, Zongor shamans lead their packs on sacred pilgrimages, following the lines of power that run deep beneath the planet's surface. At the convergence of these energies, they raise a megalithic flux cairns, inscribed with forbidden knowledge and Tzeentchian symbols to store stolen power of the ether. These cairns are not merely markers, but conduits, channels through which Tzeentch's influence spreads, allowing the Zangors to transform entire worlds into battlegrounds for the forces of chaos. In battle, they wield simple yet deadly weapons, chain swords, combat blades, and pistols, tools to carve their twisted path through the universe, all in service to the ever-shifting designs of their dark patron. And if you ever want to see a Zongor get bodied, well, watch the Warhammer 40k episode on Secret Level. That's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, what's super interesting about these Zangors are we got Zangors, we got Pestigors, we got Gorgors, we got Sexgors, I guess I forget what they're called. Yeah, we got all these different type of beastmen, which are just abhumans. The line, they're primal, driven by base instincts, yet their existence is deliberate mockery of nature's design. Like beastmen, there's this weird middle ground where just the creation of them themselves seems to lend them to going to chaos. Like they're just like an abomination creation, so they just tend to go that way.
I think it's one of those things where, like, because they don't fit in imperial society really in like a meaningful way, it's easy for them to go looking for a different master, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's neat. Like you just get these beastmen where they do have that spark of a human soul in there somewhere,
There's a book
and
that I
then
just was reading called Demon Hammer. It's about Inquisitor Codiaz, and he is disgusted when a former apprentice becomes an Inquisitor, but she's Ordo Xenos, and she has a Beastman as her partner. And like she's like and the Beastman is literally like a imperial sanctioned Beastman that is like, under the protection of the Ordo Xenos. And he was like, how can this be? And I was like, I love it.
so you're fucking that goat man, are ya?
Yeah,
That's what you're
you're
up to.
definitely sexing that goat, man, aren't you?
Fuck.
Nah.
Nah.
Oh
Oh
man.
boy. With the Zongors, though, they have, as Gerald had said, shaman leaders who actually lead their packs. The Zangor shamans are the chosen servants of Tzeentch, creatures of prodigious power and enigmatic purpose, their very existence woven into the chaotic designs of their master. Born under the shadow of ominous omens, they are destined for greatness, their fates etched in the twisted winds of the warp. These gifted individuals possess a terrifying combination of arcane mastery, foresight, and brutal intelligence. Elevated above their kin, they ride upon the discs of Tzeentch, both symbol and tool of their exalted station, raising them above all others, casting their eyes upon the battlefield from a height of unnatural power. In the dark rituals of their craft, Zangor shamans weave spells that warp reality itself, casting their enemies into grotesque new forms of Tzeentch's image, transforming them into fresh, pliable vessels for the grand mutator's will. Yet they are not mere spellcasters content to manipulate from the shadows. Savage in their fervor, these shamans charge into the fray with brutal, unrelenting ferocity, wielding their dark arts and ritual blades with deadly precision. Adorned in elaborate war masks and crowned with feathered headdresses, they carry their symbols of power, ritual daggers steeped in forbidden magic, staffs burning with the ever shifting flame of change, the arcane scrolls that whisper with secrets of the aether, talismans and sorcerous elixirs hang from their belts, relics of knowledge and power that bind them further to the manipulative, all-encompassing designs of Tzeentch.
Man, these guys in my mind just become so interesting when you know they're just fucking goat men.
Right?
They're like, you battle them in Space Marine 2 and they look so demonic, and you would never know that they're just goat men. And that you could be goat man, and you could have a goat man boyfriend or girlfriend.
Do you want to be a goat man? Come down to the Hive City.
We got goat men on discount.
Right?
Yeah. fucking cool. And like, yeah, so they have like, I would imagine they have their own very deep might not be the right word, but they definitely have their own like racial culture and stuff. They have their shamans and they're kind of spiritual that way. Even if they're not corrupted, they still kind of fall into that shamanistic primal thinking. Man, I when writing about these, I'm just like, I gotta do a whole fucking episode on them. But I think I'll get my fill by the time I talk about pestigores, sexgores, and gorgors.
You might be right on that one.
And the next final form for these ones are the enlightened. The Zangor enlightened are those few among the kind who have caught the ever watchful gaze of Tzeentch, ascending from the ranks of their lesser kin to become favored instruments of his inscrutable designs. These elite beings are marked by strange, radiant feathers and twisted, elaborate horns, physical manifestations of the profound blessings bestowed upon them by the Changer of Ways. Their minds hum with unsettling communion with Tzeentch himself, whispered secrets of cosmos and the shifting strands of fate into their consciousness. In their quest for the forbidden knowledge, the enlightened are gifted with insight beyond mortal comprehension, seeing not only the future, but the tangled warp threads of the past. They wield ornate spears, symbols of their elevated station, and ride upon discs of Tzeentch, suspended in the air like dark omens, higher and more terrible than any other. The mere presence of Zangor enlightens sends shivers of unease through their foes. With a voice that echoes the ancient and the unforeseen, they speak of the events of the lives of their enemies, intimate details no one should know, forcing the cowering to face their weight of their own secrets. These champions of Tzeentch are known as uh, aviarchs, exalted above even their fellow enlightened, their power and influence growing with every whispered truth and every dangerous truth uncovered. They're but one more piece in Tzeentch's ever-shifting tapestry, manipulators of fate and bringers of terrible revelations. Cool. That last little bit, I like the line of every whispered truth and every dangerous truth uncovered. Yeah, it's all about all these secrets that you can hold over people, and the more you know.
Absolutely. You gotta have the dirt.
Yeah, yeah. And now we'll jump to another cult. This one, I believe, is just like a human mortal cult.
Yes, it's called the Cult of the Severed Tongue. The Cult of the Severed Tongue is a foul and insidious creation of Tzeentch, born from the horrors of Sundal. In 713 M36, the demons of change descended upon the planet, robbing its people of their voices, leaving only an eerie silence in their wake. It was from the silence that the cult emerged, its twisted members seizing power in a world where no scream could be heard. For a full year, they ruled with terrifying precision, torturing and slaughtering those who had no voice to protest. The planet became a mute, suffocating hellscape, where the living crawled in fear, too terrified to even whisper, lest their very breath betray them to the cult's horrors.
Oh
When
man.
Sundal teetered on the edge of total annihilation, its cities consumed by madness and devotion to the demons that had orchestrated their torment, the Grey Knights arrived. Their arrival shattered the stillness, the only sounds that broke the silence being the thunderous bark of storm bolters and the crackling fury of force weapons. In the end, they purged the planet of the taint of Tzeentch, but the echoes of the cult of the severed tongue would never be forgotten, their legacy woven into the fabric of Sundal's silent, blood-soaked history. So, with the arrival of the Grey Knights, kind of darned if you do, darned if you don't. You're all
Yep.
teetering on the edge of annihilation from Tzeentch. Here come the Grey Knights to save your ass, and then they purge you anyways for possible warp taint.
Yeah, there could be no second guessing, no hesitation on that
Mhm.
one. Yeah.
Bum bum ba bum.
Yeah. Fun little cult though. Definitely a fun cult for sure. It seems like lots of body sacrifices when it comes to change is what we get into.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be at least. So the next one up is the Cyclopeans. The Cyclopeans, a clandestine cult devoted to Tzeentch, have long dwelled in the shadows of Haphos. Their rites as enigmatic as the god they serve, their devotion is both macabre and profound, for they mutilate themselves in the name of their patron, sacrificing one of their own eyes in ritual to honor Magnus the Red, the demon Primarch. Through this act, they seek to open their mind, twisting visions of the warp, their sight now attuned to the ever shifting paths of fate. In the wake of the Great Rift's cataclysmic creation, the Cyclopeans struck, launching an assault on Calixto's spaceport that stalled the precious Promethium exports of Haphos for weeks. As the world teetered on the brink of chaos, the Imperial commander Zulahetiar made a desperate offer to the imprisoned Psykers, freedom in exchange for their aid in hunting down the cults and mutants now infesting the planet. Some agreed, and in a frenzy of psychic power, several cults were shattered. Yet the fate of the Cyclopeans remains uncertain. Did they fall to the Psykers' purge, or have they slipped deeper into the shadows, their schemes too intricate for even the sharpest minds to uncover? I like to think that the
Cool.
Psykers they freed are the leaders of the cult.
Yeah, probably.
Got
Total
him.
plot twist.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah,
All according to plan.
I like these guys just because it comes with that. You sacrifice part of your body or part of you to get power or knowledge. Odin does a similar thing too, I believe. It's a pretty good trope where you have to you can't gain without sacrifice essentially. So
Exactly.
the comments are pretty funny. We got Fuzz. The Zangors, now that I look closer, make me think of what a demon warped Kroot would look like with the beaks and the quills and the spikes.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see a demon warped Kroot. Keep in mind, Kroot do not eat demons, though. Like, they definitely don't eat anything chaos tainted. But that doesn't mean that chaos can't taint them still. So, it would be cool to see some demon Kroot for sure.
It's funny how the Zongors are like goat men, but they always wear like bird masks and take on very bird-like features in their garb and everything.
Well, isn't that
Kinda
just Chinchian ones, though?
No.
All of them?
Mm.
I think that's just Chinchian ones. Spaghetti says, I can't believe the Pestigore is the only one he gets right, considering he used to call them, and I'll be careful with this word, the Nurgors.
Oh no.
Yes, trying to make me say inappropriate things there, Seth. You could have got
Time
me
to
if I
get
didn't know how to
Warhammer
read.
legal on speed dial.
Yeah. No, I fucking love the Zangors, and now I'm thinking about Kroot Zangors, and fuck. What have we done to my wallet this time?
Every time we talk about a faction, we want to buy it.
God damn it.
Son of a bitch.
Let's go to night houses. You could find a whole bunch of more cults and stuff, and there's a bunch out there. I like those too. We could talk about them for more, but fudge them. Let's move on to the Imperial Knights, because that is just the coolest to me. When Imperial Night House falls to the insidious influence of Tzeentch, the once noble war machines become twisted, their towering forms warped by sorcerous corruption. The renegaded house abandoned their ancestral banners, embracing the ever-shifting ways of the Changer of Ways. Their knights, once bastion of tradition and honor, now gleam with iridescent hues that shimmer like the unsettling glow of warp storms. Their armor is marked with symbols of Tzeentch, writhed sigils that pulse with eldritch energy. Their weapons cackle with warp-infused might, capable of unraveling the fabric of reality itself. They wield strange, unpredictable devices, vortex weapons that tear open warp rifts to the immaterium, melta-cannons that warp and twist their targets, and psychic-enhanced blades that blur the line between physical and metaphysical destruction. Functionally, these fallen knights are less beholden to the tactical doctrines of their former houses and more an extension of Tzeentch's will, shifting from one strategy to another, their movements chaotic and unfathomable. These knights are both instruments of war and harbingers of change, manipulating the battlefield with sorcerous winds that confound their enemies, disrupt the very laws of nature. Yeah, man. So
Glorious.
Imperial Night Houses, when they fall to chaos, the one thing I like about them is, we'll take a little history lesson in GW lore. They kind of were first introduced in like epic times way back in the day. We're talking 20 plus years ago. And they were pretty small models. They had a couple things, but they were very rare. And the lore used to be that knights almost never fell to chaos because of their family honor, because the machine spirit inside of them wouldn't let them and stuff. But what would happen is when they did fall, they would fall twice as hard. Like if you can get past that, they go even harder. So yeah, you picture these 50-foot tall knights running around with like, yeah, now all of a sudden it can walk through walls because it just shifts through reality. So it's now just walking around, walking through warehouses, blasting things apart. Like now we're starting to have some fun.
And the cool thing about like Chaos Knights is like you can do so much with them. Obviously, they like their main model line kind of features basically just like a Chaos reskin of the Imperial Knights. And I remember hearing someone made the comment of like, if you want to do a good Chaos Knights update, give them something like truly heretical, like a centaur type of thing, maybe like an octopus or a squid or
Sure, yeah.
something just like truly animalistic that you would not recognize as a Chaos Knight at first.
Oh yeah, brother.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, I just like it, What else could you toss into Imperial Knights all of a sudden? Yeah, they take on more bestial shapes and stuff, and yeah,
That'd be
that
so cool.
you replace the machine spirit with a demon, so now your co-pilot's your co-pilot Satan himself, and it's fucking tight.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Lucifer, take the wheel.
Yeah, man. All warped out. Very cool. I love knights. I'm gonna enjoy definitely seeing what potential different knights look like when they're aligned to different gods. But
Oh, that would be so cool.
yeah,
But now let's talk about their bigger and arguably, I don't know, the knights are pretty popular, but I always hear people talk about the Titan legions because big mechs go burr.
I've been told by many women that bigger is always better, and then they stop talking to me. Ghosted.
Aw, sad day. Titan Legions. Tzeentchian Titan Legions are a grotesque fusion of colossal machine and warp-born sorcery, where the might of the Titans is twisted by the ever-changing whims of the Changer of Ways. These legions, bound to Tzeentch's unknowable schemes, are ever-evolving and unpredictable, their very structures warped by sorcerous energies and the manipulation of reality itself. Unlike their more static counterparts, Tzeentchian Titans are not bound by the rigid designs of their creators, but are vessels of constant transformation, shifting in form and power as the will of their dark patron demands. Each titan in these legions is an extension of Tzeentch's grand design, a servant of fate's endless flux. Wielding unimaginable powers of warp manipulation, these titans are not merely tools of destruction, they are instruments of change, their every action rippling through the fabric of reality, forever altering the battlefield and the course of history itself. To face one is to stand before the embodiment of chaos and the unknowable future, a future that shifts with every passing moment. Everybody gangsta until the church starts walking.
Yeah, and then it walks through the wall. Because it could just, and then it teleports, and yeah,
Its body shimmers with power. You don't know if you're looking at a walking church or if it's a walking demigod. Crazy
yeah,
worlds we live
man.
in.
There was one specific legion I wanted to talk about called the Burning Stars, and we'll figure out why very shortly.
Oh,
Hmm.
I am excited. The burning stars, now whispered of as the sons of damnation, were once a Titan legion of immense power, their true name lost to the void. They cast aside their loyalty to the Emperor, aligning themselves with the treacherous fabricator general Kelbor Hal during the fateful schism of Mars, where the very fabric of trust was torn asunder. In the conflict's madness, they locked titanic wills with the loyalist titans of Legio Ignatum, neither side prevailing, for fate had yet more twisted games to play. When the war's echoes faded, they fled, their souls drawn into the eye of terror, where they became devoted to the ever-shifting, ever-deceptive Tzeentch, where in the endless cosmic maelstrom they were remade, forever lost, forever damned.
Sure, pretty cool. Nothing too abnormal, but then we learn about a named titan called Skylock.
Skylock, once a proud titan, is now a twisted echo of its former self, corrupted and reborn in the image of Tzeentch. This winged colossus, bound to the will of the demon prince Sarlan Hess, serves as an instrument of the changer of ways, a being shaped by betrayal, ambition, and the manipulation of fate itself. Once part of the Burning Stars Titan Legion, Skylock's commander Hess was among the first to fall under the dark sway of War Master Horus. His defiance began with a brutal raid upon the Imperial fuel depot on Stenior 6, an act that crippled an entire Imperial fleet for a month. In a single stroke, Hess erased himself from Imperial history, his name and deeds stricken from the records, his legion now known only as the Sons of Damnation. After the war, Hess was driven by the whispering machinations of Tzeentch, fled into the Eye of Terror, where he was transformed into a demon prince, a master of the warp's endless possibilities. Skylock, now infused with the sorcerous energies of its patron, bears an array of formidable weapons, lightning cannons crackling with chaotic power, the beam of power tearing at reality, bolts of change shifting the fabric of existence itself, and the boundless sorcery of Tzeentch at its command. In this new dark form, Skylock is more than a titan. It is a harbinger of change, a living embodiment of the ever shifting chaos of the warp.
Man, okay, so we got a fucking flying titan. I have a picture up for those watching the live stream. It's such a mini, is it not?
That's pretty great. Like, let's get real here.
Just imagine that thing flapping its wings at you and like dive bombing tanks and picking up tanks in its bird-like jaw. All the while it's shooting lightning down from the tips of its wings and frying infantry.
Right?
Fucking tight.
So sick.
Yeah, I think it's one of like this is probably one of the most powerful things in the galaxy, realistically.
Oh yeah.
This Titan
Has to be.
has to be. Like what you're gonna tell me? Like it's a demon prince in and of itself, and it's like a demon prince that has metal. So it's like, normally demons want to go inside the machine so then you can stay in real space better. But then you got this combination of a man who's tied into the machine who's also a demon. Yeah, man, just all around this concept is cool every way you look at it.
For me, I think the idea of a demon, like, because a Titan has such a gigantic machine spirit, it really makes sense that it would be able to become a demon prince. And it's like a demon prince Titan? What? Like, so
Yeah,
great.
man. But like, man, one shot from its cannon like levels a city, and like there's your fucking million soul sacrifice in one shot.
Right?
Like,
Exactly. Oh, so sick.
yeah. Once again, I'm excited to see where these go. What little nuggets like this we find where you really just see like kind of fringes of what's possible.
100%.
Through chaos, all things are possible. Oh, wait.
Yeah. One of the last things we'll talk about is Xenos followers. Xenos, who worship Tzeentch, are as varied and mysterious as the god they serve. Each race is drawn into a web of manipulation, change, and ambition that defines the changer of ways. These alien devotees are often marked by unsettling fluidity, their civilization shaped by the shifting tides of fate and the manipulations of warp-driven patron. Tzeentch's influence over these Xenos races is profound, guiding them toward a future filled with endless possibilities, though often twisted by the god's cryptic and convoluted designs. From the eldritch sorcerers of ancient species to the shape-shifting horrors of alien races. Oh yeah, there's like I forget what it's called, but there's one alien that can literally shape-shift and like take on any appearance and stuff. Very octopusy, but just like every time it does that, it's serving Tzeentch whether it wants to or not. Fucking love it. They're all bound by Tzeentch's promises of power through change, transformation, and knowledge beyond mortal understanding. In their return for their devotion, these Xenos gain access to forbidden sorceries and warp technology, often twisting the very fabric of reality to suit their purposes. Yet, like all who follow the Changer, they are pawns in the great game whose true purpose remains elusive, their destinies manipulated by forces beyond their comprehension. They may rise to great heights, but in the end, they are all bound by the endless cycle of change and uncertainty and chaos. And I would imagine this too will go for humans, where they won't be kind of this like primo soul, and they will just be another fleeting Xenos that Tzeentch doesn't give a fuck about. Move on to his next one.
The Casal Magister Immaterials. Magister Immaterials, a title whispered among the shifting sands of fate. Bestowed upon those rare few who bind themselves to the unknowable will of Tzeentch on the forsaken world of Casal, within the tumultuous heart of the screaming vortex, these sorcerer scientists exist. There we go, blending magic and science. Their minds warped by the insatiable hunger for knowledge that can tear apart the very fabric of reality. They seek what is forbidden, what is beyond, and in doing so, they are no mere scholars. They are the harbingers of change itself, wielding power that humanity can scarcely comprehend. Their path is one of ceaseless travel, leaving behind the comfort of their cities to follow the endless shifting tide of knowledge. They are relentless in their pursuit, leaving behind a legacy of forbidden lore, whispered in the dark corners of the universe. To encounter a Magister Immaterial is to stand in the presence of a being that has glimpsed the shifting patterns of fate itself, someone capable of weaving sorcery and science into forms of power so unfathomable they defy the laws of nature. And yet, even as they depart from their homeworld, a Magister Immaterial remains a potential boon for any Chaos Warband daring enough to tempt them with the promise of forgotten secrets. For while most forsake ambition in favor of knowledge, the rare few return to Casal, drawn by the allure of power, ready to ascend through their newfound understanding, becoming players in the ever-shifting hierarchy of sorcerer technocrats. But it is not the power alone that beckons these wandering intellects, it is the allure of the cosmos itself. The cultures of Casal twist and blend, and with them so too do the minds of their scholars. To study the unknown is to risk the madness that comes with it, and the magisters are no strangers to this danger. Many of them bear marks of their dark communion, the cryptic gestures, the peculiar obsessions with mundane objects, the cadence of their speech twisted into strange rhythms and anagrams. In nomine Patri et Filii Spiritus Sanctus, Amen. They are a walking enigma, a puzzle even to themselves, but beneath their eccentricities lie a darker truth, an insidious core of manipulation and self-interest. Those who seek aid and find themselves drawn into a web, one spun from the shifting threads of power and promise. For the Magister Immaterial is not a servant, but a patron, one who offers assistance only in exchange for something far more precious, the potential for greater knowledge. Yet no alliance with them is ever certain. Their devotion to Tzeentch ensures that their allegiances are as fluid as the winds of change, and the price for their aid is ever shifting. Betrayal, deceit, and cosmic ambition are the currencies they deal in, and in the end, the only certainty is that they will change the course of history, for good or ill, as only servants of Tzeentch can.
Yeah, I like this Xenos. Like, I feel like beastmen going to court, and that makes sense. Okay, so you need like a race that's going to deal with everyone. It's like the change of all things. It's going to deal, manipulate it. A trader, yeah, okay, trading race would be good. They have things to offer, mercenaries. Yeah, just it's a cool little concept that they got going on here with all these different little things. They got tech they're trying to trade around with. I didn't find much else when it comes to Xenos that could like really clearly worship Tzeentch. These ones definitely do. Like they like the change and stuff. In the chat, somebody said Harud, and I said that's more Nurgly with their entropy fields. The one shapeshifting guy was called the Lacrimole. Thanks, Liar, for finding that out. They'd be pretty cool. Maybe another one that could be kind of Nurgly, but it's also almost corny, would be the Sloth, where it's like many worms shifting and changing, where it doesn't have like a true form. But even that, it feels like that would play more into like Slanish with its like excessive desire to feed on flesh, or maybe like maybe corn because of all the blood, but I feel like it's more slannishy, like gluttony.
Yeah, there's another one that the Imperial Fists fight in 30K, and basically they go into like these strongholds, and the strongholds are continuously changing, and they're a prism, and they like the prism continually changes,
Ooh.
and these Xenos die but are rebirthed in the prisms, and like it's very interesting, and then like they just disappear out of nowhere. And I'm like, but I'm trying. I can't remember. Is it? I can't remember if it's Imperial Fist or Black Templar. Now I think about it. I'll find it. I'll find it, and I'll
Yeah.
try and.
Yeah, what an image. You're almost like fighting these like light entities that are shifting in their prisms, and you just can't lock onto them, and then as soon as they're there, they're kind of disappeared and gone. Wow. Well, while you're finding them, if you find them, great. If not, I think we're pretty much at the end of the show. I did write a little bit here about the notable servants of change, but honestly, I wrote down Aramon from the Thousand Sons, but we best wait. I wrote down another Thousand Sons guide called Acromenet, which is almost I hadn't heard of him, but he's kind of cool. He's like Aramon's flip side of the coin, and I don't want to say too much more about those guys because it opens up a whole thing and all that. But two very cool characters. We also got Gallius Herodicus. Yeah, Gallius Herodicus. I'll put that in the chat just so you guys know that I don't just got cock on the brain.
As long as it ain't no both of these.
Yeah, there wasn't anything too special about him. There's a bunch of chaos god or chaos sorcerers and whatever. But what I kind of liked about him was he was an inquisitor, but he learned one too many secrets and he thought he was in charge. But as we've learned in this episode, as soon as you think you've kind of mastered the warp, you've fallen into Tzeentch's plots.
This kind of makes me wonder, though, like all this talk about secrecy and forbidden knowledge, but then, like, doesn't that kind of dip into the greater demon of Slanesh, who is literally called the Keeper of Secrets? Or is that like a different kind of forbidden knowledge?
Like, I feel like that is keeping your secrets, where it's like, what is your personal desires? Like that dark, deep thing that you don't want people to know. And it might not even be a desire. It might be what is that guilt that you have or that thing you're hiding or whatever. So I feel like it's instead of being focused outward, it's focused inward. The Keeper of Secrets is focused you and your secrets, and it's going to use them where, changes the secrets of the universe and not necessarily about you.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. We'll jump to Collins. I think our first call, and let's get Fuzz on the phone here. Give me a little nod if you're ready. All right. Yo, Fuzz. Hey, welcome. Couldn't get enough of old Lorehammer. Hey, you had to come back for another round.
How you guys doing tonight?
Yeah, good. It's good to be back. I definitely missed recording last week, but it's super fun watching you guys take over.
Yeah, I had a blast.
Yeah, it's Space Wolves. You guys talked about Space Wolves, and I just got to sit back and enjoy the wolf on wolf carnage.
Well, hopefully everybody else enjoyed it as well.
Yeah. So, Tzeentch, how do you feel about this episode? Was there a specific cult member or Space Marine band you wish we talked about that you know about?
Not really. I don't know Chaos as well as I know. I honestly probably know Xenos more than I know Imperial stuff, but I also know like the Loyalist factions better than I know any of the Chaos factions. So nothing. It was all I would say like new, but like I tangential knowledge of it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we got a couple cool flavored cults or whatever, that can maybe expand your ideas and your creativity a little bit, but they're pretty straightforward still,
oh yeah,
cultist gonna cult,
right? And expanding that to the, like you said, different war bands. You could have having your different chaos war bands for the different traitor legions, like not just Thousand Sons, like Alpha Legion or Word Bearers, whatever you wanted to. Like, I'm sure there are ways that you could incorporate change easily within any of that, depending on what the kind of like niche is.
Sure, man. And like, you could even come up with like World Eater Berserker who thinks he's a philosopher, and he's like pretending he's serving Tzeentch. He's like, I'm taking him from alive and I'm turning him dead. Like, look at the change that I'm doing. And it's like, yes, you're so smart there, Choppy Chopson.
Right. I know,
Features.
not because I really don't want to talk about it too much, but the idea was brought up of, Tzeentch inspiring scientists and forbidden science and unethical science. And we know that the Iron Warriors do some very unethical science. I'm just going to leave it at that.
I'm getting
Yeah.
flashbacks.
No bueno. But it was really cool to listen to it. The Tanzagors were really neat. 'Cause I didn't realize that they were like all from like human beastmen, like Imperium beastmen. And I was looking at some pictures
Yeah.
of them. They, especially like with like the beaks and the kind of splayed feet, and a lot of the art looks like it has some like quill points sticking out of their body. It reminded me a lot of the Kroot models and like what a like chaos warped Kroot would look like as well.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to jack that idea. I know at one point I made an aqua Kroot, and what I did was I took a Corn Bloodletter's body, and he kind of has the fins down the
Okay,
back of
yeah.
it. Yeah, so then you slap a Kroot head on, and you slap some fins on, and whatever, and you got an aqua Kroot. But also now, yeah, you could maybe do more of like a savage Kroot with the Tanzagors, where yeah, their quills are a little more ruffled. They're not quite all there, a little more feral.
Now
Yeah.
I want to go look at all the different kinds of like beasts and animals that they have, or even just look through some of my miniatures that are from like Reaper miniatures, like fantasy D&D tabletop miniatures, and see if anything would be fun to
Sure.
like slap an extra Kroot head onto and see what it would be.
Fuck yeah, man. Yeah, like I've taken like grots or whatever. You slap a little Kroot hound on it. You don't always have to use the Kroot head. You can use other Kroot
Yeah.
parts, and yeah, now all of a sudden you got like a short little Kroot with a Kroot hound on it, shanking people's knees.
Yeah, now that I'm actually like getting somewhat of a decent bits box together, I want to see what I can snap around.
Perfect. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, Kroot, I guess they would be a potential option for Chaos if they kind of were more willing to serve it. What's more change than literally changing who you are when you eat things?
Exactly, yeah. And like I said, they have the
Yeah.
beaks. It fits with the whole bird theme.
Would we like to, since we're talking Kroot,
Sure.
would we like to see kind of a little bit more flexibility on what they're willing to eat? Like so far we know they don't eat Tyranids, they don't eat anything that has chaos taint in it, and they don't eat Tau typically.
But I think that's it. I think that's really the limitation of it. So on the one hand, like I guess lore wise, I would love to see more flexibility with the Kroot. I'd love to see, some Kroot short stories of, you know, maybe Kroot that have like crashed and been surviving on a desert world, and so they've got more like snake-like features or something. Or I'm imagining like a Kroot mixed with like a sand shrew from Pokemon or something. Would be like
Yeah.
with the sharper claws for digging, the scaly hide, like a bearded lizard. That would be really neat.
Yeah, man, fucking Kroot. That would be cool. The bearded lizard kind of dragon kind of one. You take lizard men models and slap on Kroot bits onto that guy.
Right.
Fuck yeah.
I want to find like a thinking back to like the D&D ones, find like a Drider miniature, so like a spider person, and give it some like,
Ooh.
Kroot
Yeah.
arms and a Kroot head. Would be really cool. That would be
Yes.
cool. Like some cave dwelling Kroot.
I've even seen vegan Kroot before, where people take the wood elf tree folk and slap a Kroot head on that, and then you got a vegan Kroot.
I mean, if
Yeah,
the
man,
Kroot ate
fucking Kroot.
orcs, that's what they would be. They'd be vegan Kroot.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're all Kroot sexual here. Yeah, they definitely do, man. And then
Oh,
they
yeah.
get big and strong and buff out. Ooh,
So
yeah.
in Kroot lore, if I remember right, that's how the Kroot got to their current kind of like general size and shape. Was orcs crash landed on their homeworld of Petch, and they ate some orcs, and they gained that like sort of bipedal features.
Yeah. Size, shape, and brain ability, where Kroot have that like internal knowledge of how to build a warp capable spacecraft, but also they use black powder weapons. They got that interesting technology aspect where they seem to know when they need to. Man, I think that's convinced me we need to do a whole Kroot episode. Many years ago we did the minor Xenos and we touched on Kroot, but we should definitely go on some Kroot, some Beastmen. We should touch on Hurud again, and
That'd be awesome.
yeah, give them a little more focus and a little more love for sure.
Yeah. The other thing that I really enjoyed was that Titan that you guys just talked about, Skylock, which just
Skylar.
immediately made me think of like original series Transformers, like a giant, something like Metroplex, just this giant flying robot. Should be like a playset or something.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, just like
Fucking
seeing it
cool.
with the wings, just imagine that like flying through the battlefield. How just ridiculous it is! Like really harkening back to that ridiculous hilarity of 40K.
Yeah, like it doesn't look like it can glide. Like this thing looks like it would have to flap its wings, like kind of dangle its feet there. It's not flying around very naturally, adding to that absurdity of this 100-foot tall flying metal monstrosity. Like, what the fuck?
Sorry, I just was looking back at the chat. I like Jax's idea of doing a Species of the Greater Good episode would be really cool.
Yeah. We've done a couple kinda, but you know, as more stuff always comes out, we could definitely do a refresh. I'm sure there's even a couple more. Cool. Any other thoughts there, Fuzz?
Just the usual for anyone listening. Join the Imperial Tithe, jump on our Discord, and any whatever podcast app you listen to, give this a 5-star rating. Help other people find it.
Yeah. 5-star ratings always nice. I've been told that they do stuff for me. Yeah, thanks, Fuzz. See you on the next one.
See ya.
Do we got time for one more? You know what? I went on a week vacation. I miss my little buddy Jax. Let's get him to the stage. Come here, little friend. Hey, friend.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Hey, Jax.
Good. Still bandaged up. That's nice. That's good. You haven't changed in the week. I like that.
I thought this was a Tzeentch episode, not a Kroot episode. But I'm all for it.
Yeah. Fucking crew to the best, man.
Exactly.
Oh man, I got a bunch of fruit like sitting. They're the only models I got in Panama, and every now and again I crawl out here in the night, look at them, put them in my hands. So nice.
See a lizard, like, oh, that's like 40K.
Eat Kroot, eat the lizard, gain their abilities. Yeah, no, it gets weird on the island. Hey, what'd you think about this episode? You enjoyed Tzeentch?
I like Tzeentch more than Nurgle, that's for sure. I do gotta say, before we delve into that whole rabbit hole, yeah, Tzeentch is cool. I like his little cults. I like how they could be more sinister and kind of out there in terms of of course they got to be psychers, but they could be more hidden and more not banging every chicken person you see in a mile radius.
Yeah, like it seems more like planned chaos, you know. The end goal is still chaos, but there's a plan to get there.
I have the Yark omnibus, and fun fact: before he met Gazgul, he fought a Tzeentch cult. And it's this really interesting. They nuke a city, so him and a ragtag army have to go out to face them. But it's like they know everything they're about to do in advance. They're
Ha.
super smart. Demons are actually a threat. And it's just really interesting, how do you fight an enemy that already knows what you're about to do?
Sure. Yeah. You don't, I guess.
Just try.
Well,
Ability.
Yeah. Have you ever just thought about maybe trying?
You got to have a plan. Even
I'll
you don't know what
plan.
the outcome is.
Yeah.
Just go full on Molol, just start shooting guns everywhere. It's like, oh, I didn't account for this.
So, anyways, it started blasting.
So, anyways, I started.
Right.
Yeah, I like it, man. I think what I'm gonna enjoy about these next couple episodes are just the Knights and the Titans, man. That's my vibe. You know, we're gonna learn about some
Yeah, for
cool
sure.
cults. We're gonna learn about some cool Space Marines indirectly, but yeah, the Knights and the Titans and the Xenos, man, are tight.
Always
Right.
gotta love the little well, not little, but the big Titans and all it's the little stuff that matters, you know? Reading Codex and being the full might of Tzeentch showed up. Okay, that's cool. All his demons, all his Titans, all his Hrud,
Always.
all his
No.
minor Xeno race.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. The Knights and Titans look so fucking cool. Yeah, I stayed in a hotel last week and they had like a conference room, and in it they had like a small diorama of their hotel. And I was just picturing how fucking cool of a game board that would have been to play an Imperial Knight smashing around in there. I went in that room many times looking at it, just pretending. What a waste of a holiday. Yeah, whatever. Fuck it. Hey, Jax, anything else to say?
Can't wait for more episodes about the little cults here and there. Can't wait for
Little
Slanesh though.
cults. Little cults that wiggle their way into your anus.
Oh,
Num, num,
I don't
num,
know why
num.
Geralt's shaking his head. Accept the Slanesh.
It's
no,
wiggling up
never.
in there. All right, Jax, thanks for calling. Talk to you next time.
Curse.
And then there were
Ah!
three filthy little cultists.
Perfect number.
The perfect number. Not one, not two, but three. Yeah, well, any other thoughts you guys have about this one? We need to see more specific, like, Imperial Guard regiments, I think. You know, people have been requesting that we do, like, God-specific ones, and we have some information, but, man, there's not a whole bunch out there, so that'd be cool to get some more regiments, Chaos regiments.
I think so.
Oh, definitely. But it seems like it's kind of weird in that we were talking earlier that he was like the most exclusive as far as psychers, but on the same token, he also seems like the most inclusive as far as he'll just take about just about anybody as a
Yeah.
cultist. So
Yeah. As soon as you start plotting, he'll start like damning you. But like that's the other thing about his exclusivity. It's like, you know, maybe the other gods you can run with them longer before the spawndom comes and claims you. Where change that spawndom comes quick.
Right? Like, you thought you wanted change. The Spondum wants you.
Fuzz
in Tzeentch
says,
Demon Worlds.
damn it, I need to talk about the Spire Guard, lol. I love the idea of every core Marine chapter having a unique guard regiment from their home world. Yeah, what do you guys think about that concept? You know, we got the Ultramarines and they have their, I forget what they call their guard, but they got a very distinct look too.
I think it's the Ultramar Auxilia. But like even the Space Wolves have the Fenrisian Guard.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of them do, especially, you know, if they have a home world to begin with. That'd be the big thing. But yeah, I definitely like that. You know, you get that second flavor of, okay, this is what happens to your super soldiers, and this is what will happen to the rest of us.
Yeah.
We get these cool las rifles and fancy hats.
Mhm.
Cool. Let's do some end in the notes shout outs here. If you want to buy anything, you can't buy Skylock, but you could buy something else. I'm sure you could go buy some Thousand Suns. Go to Merlin's Miniatures and use promo code Lorehammer. There's links in the description below. Go check them out. Go buy some minis. You're gonna buy them anyways. Go use Merlin's Miniatures. And come check out Lorehammer Listener Lore. You submit your homebrew lore to me. I read it off. Submit to lorehammerpodcast@gmail.com. It's been a lot of fun.
I know you can't buy Skylock, but I'm pretty sure there's some madman out there that has actually tried to make it.
Who I bet.
guarantee
I'm
you.
sure.
Speaking of Tzeentch, if you like the fantasy side of things, the Grimlore podcast actually did a Tzeentch episode a couple months back, so be sure to check that out and see what Tzeentch is up to and scheming in the Warhammer fantasy world.
Well, yeah. And if you're looking to, in the future, get some hobby hangout in, come join me in the hobby hour in the green room. Currently, we have a couple videos prepped, and I'm going to start doing some live streams and whatnot here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So it's going to be good. End of April, we're going to have our first live stream. So come up with the exact date here on the next episode. But yeah, it's going to be a good time. I've got everything. You'll also see the background behind me change. It's going to change in the next, I'd say, probably 2 weeks. Got the big plans.
Magic. Nice. I love big plans. Big
Oh,
things,
yeah.
big schemes.
It's all coming together.
Oh yeah. It's all
right. Well, we'll see you guys all on the next one where we talk about Nurgle's Cult of Decay. Adios, everyone.